On this podcast, you'll find interviews with high-performing, successful individuals in life sciences. On a weekly basis, we cover their proven methods, principles, strategies, and mindsets to implement new technologies that scale to meet the needs of people in our world.
Welcome to Life Science Success Podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Don. I'm a consultant in life sciences, and I help companies really focus in on their strategy, people, process, and technology. And so help a lot of companies with that and thinking through scaling and how they're going to scale their organization. If you look at the very bottom of this page, you'll see a link down there. And that link really ties to a weekly series that I'm currently doing focused on helping organizations scale on different topics. Today's topic actually focuses in on process optimization. And so if you go to thescalingmethod.com, Thoughts at Scale, you will see the way to subscribe to that series. On a weekly basis, we're doing it via LinkedIn Live. And so it's a great way to, again, join me a little bit later today. It's at 12 Eastern every Thursday afternoon. And so feel free to join me there. So with that, let me bring up today's guest. Today's guest is Gaurav Kapoor. Gaurav is the co-founder of Indegene, a digital-first life sciences commercialization company with 19 of the world's top 20 biopharma companies as clients. So with that, welcome, Gaurav.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And Don, congratulations. You've built a very interesting career, and wish you all the best. And looking forward for a chat.
Yeah, this will be great. And I have this really twisted career. We were chatting beforehand. I mean, people look at my background and just go, yeah, I don't know exactly where this guy fits. Diagnostics, pharma, I don't know, but I've done enough in life sciences that I feel like I can talk to a lot of the guests about the different topics that they cover. And, the focus is really on you this afternoon. And so, just wanted to hear a little bit more about you and your career, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Yeah, it's been, so Don, if I look back, it's 20, actually we're celebrating next month 25 years of Indegene. And actually, if you talk to me, it's day one in office. It's pretty much, we're as excited as possible as 20. Lots of people ask me, how's that excitement going? And I said, it's very simple. We came in, and as youngsters, much more hair than I have today. And we thought, we wanted to actually start working closely on the pharma side and see if we can use data technology to change. And I keep telling all my colleagues and friends that, first time when we were building the plan, we said in 3 years, we will be able to pretty much change the industry, connect the dots. And then one of our founders said, no, this is too aggressive. Let's make it 5 years. And today it's 25 years. We're still at it. Figured it out the hard way that this is not an easy industry, but a very, very interesting, because you give back so much to the society and you make an impact which you can see. So Don, that our career was very simple. We went in with one single focus that, let's see how life sciences we can make an impact using data and technology. And started with when as a brand manager, I was launching brands, I could see that there is a lot of gap in the knowledge, the way what pharma wanted to impart science and knowledge to doctors. And we saw that there was a gap. We thought the gap is you can't build a scalable model till you don't use data and technology. And that was way back in 2000. We were thinking, how do you do that? So our first very interesting on product in 2000 was just going to all the conferences and covering and digitizing the content. We pretty much went in the first year and pretty much covered close to 120 conferences and just brought out content, which was something like 7,000, 8,000 hours of content, and pretty much digitized it. And we started giving to doctors, and doctors started really loving us. And we saw so much respect and admiration coming for the effort we were doing. And we saw that as a big opportunity of bridging the knowledge gap between the doctors and the industry. And that started to bring our different kinds of models in place. where we started to bring in, a whole digital first approach pretty much started to work from there. That how do you use digital to pretty much bridge the knowledge? And then obviously was that if you can solve it in life sciences, then you can solve it and bring the payers and the providers and others to do it. So but figured it out that sometimes when you're going B2C directly to doctors, you don't make you don't make enough money. So we pretty much changed our model slightly in 8 to 9 months, became a B2B, started going to pharma. And by 2004-5, we had figured out that if you really want to make a healthcare impact, that US is the first place where most of the innovation is happening, most of the pharma companies are focused on. So we then by 2004-5 had shifted gears and moved to US, all our focus on. And that's where we've been at it. So it's 25 years, day one in office.
I saw the other day, whenever I was doing a Google search, it looked to me like they're 25 years old as well. And so you're almost, I mean, you started must have been just right after Google then, if that's the case, because I believe that's what they were indicating on their search
Pretty much,
thing, is that
pretty
they're
much,
25
yeah.
years old. So yeah,
Pretty
interesting.
much, yeah. We were verticalized, yeah. We were totally licensed, but yeah, pretty much same timeline.
Wow. And so what made you want to focus on life sciences? What was the reason behind that?
Yes, one natural because we came from a pharma background. I was a pharmacy graduate. I had done my my masters in business, also focusing on the pharmaceutical marketing side. So my natural inclination was pharma, and that's where I came in. My first pharma no job was also part of the global marketing business unit of one of the pharma companies, and setting being part of that. So my natural, but when we all came together, five of us, pretty much when we were looking at things around us. When you're in India and we were first generation entrepreneurs, that the time internet boom was taking place. That's the time we came from humble backgrounds. We had my generations had my father wasn't pretty much on a salaried employee. So we had, when we started dreaming of becoming a businessman, half of our family went actually crazy. They said, what are you guys doing? But and if you look at in India at that time, I know if you want to bring technology, only two areas which kind of attracted us, either education or healthcare. And we
Mm.
said, why not bring them together, actually do healthcare and education and go into the healthcare. So we started to look at healthcare as the area, but bring education, bring us some information technology, other pieces into this and drive. And and we saw so much of gap actually especially in Asia that time, except Singapore and Korea and couple others. We saw that time India, China, all of us had so much gap between the knowledge and the best practices between the developed world and the developing world. We said this is an area where we can make an impact. And once we started, pretty much in the first few months when we started to interact with the doctors and the top institutes in those markets, we figured out that's the place. I had met 200 key opinion leaders in the first few weeks of our inception of the company. And I was just moved by meeting so many doctors and seeing so many patients and so many people not really suffering from with the diseases. We said these guys need knowledge, and the best knowledge which is available across the world to treat patients. And that just bit of, obviously, I'm sure we didn't figure that out, but there was some compassion, right? Just that couple of things just move you and say no, and then we just stuck on it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it seems to me like a very natural sort of transition, especially given your background as well, in terms of, the industry that you focused on. And I mean, what a great place to be in, and, time as well, as I think back,
and
quite a ways. So,
and and smooth. And we obviously play different roles in the company, but look, a couple of us pretty much have pretty were very clear that this model has to be disrupted. The way pharma works today, it has to be reimagined. And I'm talking about 20 years ago, and we said, the way pharma sales and marketing works, pretty much it can be, if with use of data and technology, it can be reimagined completely. And you could be getting a speed of light information to doctors on time to treat their patients correctly. It could be at and it could be at that time we were starting to develop integrated some of these softwares on the palm top. So started to dream, which was, sometimes you start as entrepreneurs think start thinking early. The timing is not right. So we, some of the things we did, which which were 15 years, 20 years early, but we started to think of solutions at that time. How can you bring doctors education at the right time, start to look at clinical real world data. We were in that time in 2003-4, we were integrating 7 top institutes in the world on pancreatic cancer and saying what's the real world data available, and are there no treatments which could be possible. And we had doctors saying, hey, what's inspiring you to do this? And said there are possible, we just want to think of all possibilities. So Don, thinking from education, thinking from real world data, thinking of how in 2007 we were talking about a digital repless launch. And when I presented first time in a Boston conference, in one of the digital Boston conferences, uh, we presented repless model, and nobody came in. Once you walk down, right, if you're a sales guy, right, you walk down, and there will be people who will be asking you. Nobody came in, Don.
Oh,
Nobody
wow.
came.
Yeah.
I said, my God, what a mistake. So my one of the co-founders with me said, man, what did we do? Nobody came in. And then one of the top 5 consultants came in and said, hey, would you like to do a white paper with us? This looks interesting. And do you think this will happen in 3 to 5 years? And we, as again, eternal optimist, said, no, this should happen in next 1 or 2 years. And no, and after that, in 2010-11 is when Don, we did the first actual, not a fully repless launch, but we did a hybrid launch in 2010 for a major brand in the world, a cardiovascular brand. So it no, but that was 13 years ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, people today post COVID or during COVID started to do this more frequently. So those are the exciting times. We continue to do lots of time, don't get the timing right, but no, that's part of life.
Yeah, I think I mean, I think overall there's an optimism oftentimes with technology that, hey, look, this is going to be game changing for people. Hopefully they'll move towards the curve a little bit better. But I mean, this is a great transition to my next question for you really is, what are some of the most significant changes that you've seen, and how have you adapted to them, in our industry?
Yeah, so some of the significant changes, clearly what we saw in 2000, first inflection point for us was 2010, between 2010 and 12. We started to see pharma, some level of pressure coming in because of the patent cliff. Patent cliff was a big, I think, move, kind of uh, uh, impact point for the industry, where industry first time started to reimagine and start looking at their cost structures and started to look at their operating models and so on. And pharma at that time started to look at, are there possible ways to do centralization of certain services?
Mhm.
Can we bring marketing to a central place? Can we, instead of in 100 countries, 100 brand managers doing their own thing, can there be a way to centralize stuff? And that was a big change which started to happen with patent cliff, that a lot of people started visiting our offices, talking to us on these models. And we were the first one, I think, in 2010-11, setting up a global digital center for one of our clients, no, on the first on the regulatory side and then on the commercial side, so with our clients. So that was a big change that brought in centralization. And by 2014-15, again, there was a lot of, again, those Sunshine Act had come in, but pharma had given between, again, 2010 to 15-16, I may not have the right number, but close to 15 to 20 billion dollars of fine, right?
Right.
From a compliance perspective, right?
Yeah.
The right claims you make, the right, obviously the intent always right, but it gets lost in the way sometimes. So centralization helped there, and then pharma started to move towards really putting systems and processes much more rigorously around the whole compliance. And that's the second wave. We started to work very closely with companies to start building medical legal approval processes in place, putting the best labeling practices in place. So that's the second wave where we started to bring compliance in place, which was, so after centralization, compliance came in. And third, 15, 16, I know we had no clue of COVID coming in, but 15, 16, we started to reimagine 2030, saying what the next 15 years industry will look like by 2030. And we really put our stakes on ground and our point of view and said there will be a completely different sales and marketing model. While we have been building through shared services, but let's reimagine the whole sales and marketing. There will be a different content supply chain, there will be a different data supply chain. And the way reps are, the way today it's a rep heavy world, it will start building up, less rep or a omni channel world. In fact, I know we started to talk about omni channel in 15, 16, some of our white papers, and saying this is the only way, not multiple channels, not multi channel, omni channel. Data has to talk to each channel, and there has to be a connected layer. And from there, we pretty much 15, 16, Don, came up with our next 15 years, which is now pretty much we are halfway through, saying we will see a world with by 2030 where pharma can do sales and marketing pretty much as benchmark as other industries that do it at, let's say, 8 to 10% of cost of sales is 8 to 10%. Pharma today does at 28 to 32%. It should be able to do it at pretty much 60% lower. And what does it take to know technology take to drive that? If pharma can, why can't pharma be 100% compliant through all the processes? So imagine industry which is 100% compliant. And third, no, and first, just not talking about that, how do you make sure that you're able to do, the other one came in as clinical trials and the whole R&D space. We said it takes today more than $2 billion to actually bring out a drug into the market. Now, why would it take so much money to bring out a drug into the market? How do you accelerate and whole clinical trial space? How can you bring drugs to market much faster? So why can't you do 30% faster, 40% cheaper? So those three became the pillars of ours in 2015, 16, and we said this is how we see the world changing. And commercial was the area where we were very strong then, and then the regulatory and medical from a compliance. And 18, 19 started to put our heads down on seeing what the clinical trial space would look like. And that in last 2 3 years we've started to make significant progress on that too, Don. So before we retire, we want to see that we made impact points on all these three and see a reimagined pharma world. Not too late. We thought 3 years, we'll do it in 30 years.
Excellent, excellent sort of timeline as well. I mean, there's so many things that, I think about in terms of, the past, and I mean, even the most recent pandemic, right? I mean, we get into the most recent pandemic, and most pharma companies were looking at the fact that they had, previous data that they could use for the research data in terms of COVID. They knew spike proteins already. They knew kind of, how to accelerate a vaccine and things like that. But at the same time, they needed the information and the data, to come along. And so digital company, like Indegene is important because of the, I think the capabilities that you could provide as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Don, you saw in the COVID exactly what you're saying. If we are pushed, right, as industry pushed to do things fast, we do it. We come up with a drug in less than a year. We were approved and out. But if it's relaxed timelines, then we are back to again 8 to 10 years, 12 years to come out drugs and no. So we are hoping that post COVID there are companies which change the way things are done and don't go back to the old normal or whatever the normal was. We the new normal is better and much more efficient. Do that because finally it helps the patients. If you look at the amount of money globally we spend on whole R&D and the coming out with for better treatments for patients. We could do more for less. If we could do more, there is so much unmet need still in the area of oncology, neurology, and so many other areas that it's critical for us to that we don't stop money on that innovation side. And if we have to somehow stop the spend, which is so huge today in healthcare. So our goal is that we can do that, and hopefully we can do better. I'm on the sales and marketing side. I'm also hoping that pharma companies start looking at hybrid launch models, and or when they're when they're looking at marketing, they're doing it differently in an omni-channel way versus just the way we used to do in our old times.
Yeah, so you pioneered co-commercialization at Indegene. Can you elaborate on what does that entail, and how has it impacted the industry?
So co-commercialization is the way we look at co-commercialization. In the first lens, the first chapter of co-commercialization was looking at an omni-channel sales model, that not going with a rep heavy sales model.
Mhm.
And we started to talk about it very, very strongly for 4 5 years ago. And in the life sciences space today, uh, I think with Indegene and many other companies today, Don, I think as an industry we move the needle. We move today. Any data I pick up, I look at that at least 20 to 22% of the spend in the overall no marketing spend is going towards digital versus print and TV, which still remain high, but we've started to see digital average. Some of the companies are going as high as 50 or more, but there, if you look at overall, it's still it's going there. In next 3 to 5 years, we will see much more spend being put towards digital. So part of our first chapter was say, how do you get omni-channel marketing to do this? What we need to do much better is to actually show the attribution of the channels towards the prescription lift, that these channels also help in prescription lift versus the rep only. Rep is the most important channel, but it is the most expensive channel too. So how do you also make sure that other channels also contribute in prescription lift? I think pharma, and including Indegene, hasn't done a great job in building that analytics engine to actually deliver that attribution. And our goal is to make sure. We've recently launched our Envisage, which is our digital IP, which will very, very we think, which will be very, very helpful for industry to again move the attribution of sales to which channel and at what reach and frequency it helps. So getting the right sequencing and right channel preference from doctors. If we are able to do that, we will be able to do a justice to the first part of the co-commercialization. Second part of the commercialization is that pre-launch to launch. How can you help pharma, and especially that was built for mid pharma to biotech, that how do you build a model where they could be lean, they could be they could be smart, they could be they should not build too much of fixed cost, and they could be partners like us, which could help them pretty much give them launch in a box, which they can switch on and launch their products, and which can help in democratizing innovation, that more pharma companies can actually launch their products and do not have to fail because they don't have enough money to launch their brands in the market. So that's our second chapter that's in progress. And we feel in the next 4 or 5 years we will see we can impact more launches also in the market, bringing that launch in a box platform. So launch in a box and omni-channel both are part of co-commercialization. It's a path which we think in next 5 to 7 years will bring in a new dimension to how brands are brought into the market from after R&D.
Yeah, I think launch in a box is a really important thing based on a lot of the things that I hear as well, because I hear, a lot of companies, wait until the last minute to commercialize as well. And so the waiting late causes a lot of these things, the final milestones to be rushed as well, which is not a good time to rush a decision about what you're going to do. And then being able to see the data, as you indicated, in terms of the impact, of what you're putting in is absolutely critical as well. I know on the digital marketing side, we talk a lot to clients about that as well, that, hey, you want to be able to see the performance of these things and make adjustments, because, we typically, yeah, from digital marketing, standpoint, we're still trying to figure out human behavior in a lot of ways. And so, this is a human behavior experiment, and we change the way that we look at the world. And so, yeah.
No, and we releasing in next no 1 month no report which talks about 5 critical factors on launch, and we've seen that, Don, that if you do not start preparing 3 years before launch, you really don't make an impact, or you don't get to your peak sales at the time which you want. And typically small to medium pharma or companies with first asset are struggling to raise funds, so pretty much are not thinking of how to commercialize. And for them, that commercialization in fact is a pretty, it's a complex task for them, because
Mm.
no, that they've been more focused on their no on their science. They've been more R&D focused, so pretty much no, they don't know what the right timing is to launch, to get to the right to get the right peak sales. So that's the place where partners like us, who have the experience of launching hundreds of brands across the world, bring that experience and value to them to do the right things right. Because you need to get the coverage right in US, you need to get the you need to get the market priming and market development right. You want to go to make sure that your patients report the right outcomes. So there are multiple factors which go into a good launch. And that's why our study will show that pretty much quite a few reports have shown that close to 50-55% of the drugs don't meet their forecast in the first year, and after they revise their forecast, 40% of them still don't meet their forecast in the second year, because you just haven't done the right things in 2 years before launch. It's not on day zero, but it's date minus 24 months, which is critical.
Wow. Yeah, and it's a lot to think about too before you're approved and ready to hit the market and things like that. I mean, I get the challenge, but I also understand, in terms of preparation, what companies need to do. So both in terms of, being a digital first company, which I'd like for you to describe a little bit as well, and then it seems like you guys have attracted a lot of the top pharma companies as well. You have in your profile 19 of the top 20 brands. And so just curious, what sort of makes them, come to a digital first company, but then also, how did you attract, the interest from the top pharma companies?
So yeah, I maybe I take the second first.
Okay.
See, as I talked about, right, 2010-11 was our inflection point,
Mhm.
and couple of big pharma wins came in at that time. But Don, critical piece was that how do you help these company become true partners to them? There are a couple of things you got to do. You obviously, you got to be in your customer centricity has to be in your DNA,
Mm.
right? That got to make sure that customer is happy. We're making sure we're delivering them high quality, expertise led kind of work, because all this what we do in pharma is so expertise led, right? You can't be in this, especially in the regulatory sales and marketing space, where we started off. So making sure that we deliver well to our clients. And second, then how do you just earn the trust by building scalable models? Because pharma has built this machinery globally, right? If you look at the top 25, why they're successful and they don't get uprooted easily. Last 25 years, you haven't seen too many new entrants in the top 20,
Right.
because these guys have built a very, very strong machinery globally, which are scaled and which runs really well. And that's why if they wanted to trust, they would trust somebody who's built a very similar model. So where we were fortunate, pretty much the organization which we build, and especially Manish, who who our CEO and our co-founder, he only way to succeed was to build a scalable model. And pretty much Manisha's and Andy and some of the both of them, part of our team of five, have been absolutely just been paranoid about building a scalable institutionalized model in the company. So Don, we brought in the front, we were making sure customer is happy, customer gets what they want, we're responsive, bringing them the right people. And at the back, we were building a global model, because if pharma wants to succeed, they want to succeed in the 13 to 16 top of their top markets. So whether it's India, whether it's China, whether it's Japan, whether it's US, EU5. So we mimic the same world, and we build our operating models and operating structures pretty much to support them to succeed in those markets. So scale, institutionalization, and those values are clearly about trust, credit worthiness, and customer centricity came in. uh, and I'm sure while talking to you, you figured out that there's no dearth of passion and you talk to any one of us, there's no dearth of passion which came along with it. So those helped us to win clients, where we haven't lost, on knock on wood, we haven't lost any large pharma, large strategic client for us, for never. We haven't lost. We've built, most of our relationships are 10, 15 years, 17 years, 20 years old. We still have no person who gave us our first check, in no, which was like maybe $1,000, could be a multi-million dollar client today with us, is still with us. No and no Would be a reference for us to do that. So that whole allowed us to scale. And I would have been so happy if I had 20 out of 20. No, that 19 out of 20 kinds of sometimes kind of embarrasses us. So it's my goal to get that 20th client open. It's part of my KRA this year.
Good goal to have overall. Yeah.
So I'll come back to you next year and give you the good news. We have 20
That'll
out of
be
20.
that'll be great. So
And
yeah,
digital first was pretty much, again, Don, in everything we did, remembering the whole digitization of
right.
content. When we started to look at any function in a pharma company, we started to look at how do you bring digital and technology and data together to do this. When we started to look at sales and marketing model, we started to question why do you need rep to go 24 times to 48 times in doctor's chamber through the year and do that? Doctor doesn't need to do this. All surveys tell you. So what's the other way to reach doctor? And doctors, in the most last 10-15 years, you've seen the therapies have become more complex. It's complex diseases. These are all knowledge intensive, so you need to impart knowledge to doctors. And knowledge, there are so many other ways to impart doctors, because doctors are looking for knowledge in multiple other ways versus just talking to one person, right? And face to face. So we started to look at use digital technology to bring them knowledge, doing this. When started to look at how, if you start building in global global functions around marketing services, how do you build but hubs which could become digital factories, digital content? So we started to build digital factories or digital content hubs for our clients pretty much 2010, 11, to build them, that if you want to be a omni-channel company worldwide from 4 years, from 5 years from now, how will you build velocity of and volume of content no, to service that? So you need to build content which can go in multiple ways to doctors, and not just go through the e-detailing route, but we could have banners, emails, social media, webinars, social posts, everything. So started to look at, again, digital first approach there, that if you have to impart, if you have to do true marketing, same philosophy went on when we were doing labels, any of our regulatory documentation. We started to look at how do you use technology, automation. So pretty much use technology to drive that. So became part of our ethos. It's natural today. In any of our employees, you ask them, how will you kind of solve this problem? First thing, we'll start looking at how do you bring automation, data, technology into it.
Yeah, it's I mean the digital world is, I feel like it's a mystery to a lot of people, But whenever you think about all of this, whenever you go onto any social media platform, this idea of scrolling and, having a presence there, um, and being wherever the doctor is looking, right? Whether it's email or it is social media of some sort, is important as well. And like you said, I mean, the therapies aren't getting easier to understand. It's actually becoming a very complex world. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
having an approach for that is important.
We did a survey last year. We do an annual survey, our HCP, digital savvy survey, and last year was 74% of the doctors told that we are overwhelmed with promotional content. We're looking for knowledge based content and give us more medical, more knowledge enhancement content versus promotional content. And I think I saw with Viva or some of the other surveys also recently coming in, pretty much similar, that doctors are looking for very very specific knowledge content. So that demand is huge, and that knowledge content cannot be given through one channel. It is has to be on demand, and the customers have changed, right? The way doctor is a pretty much similar consumer, right? He or she is prime time is on Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu. They're looking, they do content, they do binge watching, they all do different things. So I don't want to wait for every 15 days for a rep to come back and give me content. I want to see the content. I want to see it, 8 pieces of content now. And no and so how do you give them? So your short your the journeys are very dynamic today.
Hmm.
So it's no more next best action. Also, it's pretty much string of actions which are pretty much happening one after another, and you got to be planned for that. And no sort of days have changed, so demands have changed from our customers. And we've been slow. We've been slow in reacting. We've improved on medical legal process, but I've seen days when it took more than 80 days to get an email approved in a pharma company's supply chain. It's improved. Some of our clients are doing it in 30 days today, but we're not doing. If we have to really meet the demand of our customers and consumers, we will have to be much more faster.
Yeah, I'm seeing. So Daniel Tadani's on with us as well, and he's saying, as well. It's just great to hear from you. As well on the podcast here. So I thought I'd quickly mention Daniel. The one question I had for you about the success of your commercialization efforts. Can you share any case studies or stories that demonstrate the effectiveness of the approach?
Oh yeah, there's if you look at, yeah, each one has to be backed by case studies. Otherwise, right, clients will not pick up, they'll not be repeat business, right? So if you look at from our enterprise commercial, what we say that typically how we set up marketing hubs for our clients, we've been able to based on marketing hubs we've created. Pretty much we work close to 17 of the top 25 where we will work with marketing hubs. And these marketing hubs are done pretty much started with more and more, started as first efficiency games that you could once you centralize, you're obviously able to bring savings. So you bring 30 to 50% savings. But after savings, you start looking at what next. And we have been able to first demonstrate pretty much 30 to 50% savings throughout. So pretty much you can build a sales and marketing model which is much more smarter and much more cost efficient. Second was that how do you drive then effectiveness? Then how do you drive more personalization? Then you drive the score of customer experience scores. So customer experience became in last 3 4 years one of the critical measures to see whether you have satisfied customers or doctors on the other side. We started to measure them, and each one of them pretty much we started to look at effectiveness. We started to see if by using marketing hubs based on and personalized messaging, are you able to drive better engagement? And we saw again a very very significant number between again 30 to 50% increased in our open rates, engagement rates. From there we started to look at customer experience scores. We started to see 10 to 15% increase on our customer experience scores to come in. And so marketing hubs have demonstrated, each one of our marketing hubs has demonstrated to our clients pretty much the goals we set out for. In pretty much, it takes 8 to 12 months, pretty much, but in 12 months, whatever goals we've set up to do that, we would do. Then if you look at on the sales side, that are we able to now do omni channel and bring out, whether we can deliver prescriptions or not. Pretty much, one of the first oncology brands we handled in US, Don, we used we used actually a digital rep-less model, where an oncology brand, it was a mature brand. It was not a, it was still not no, it was 2.5 years away from LOE, and we picked up that brand, and pretty much in 12 to 18 months we had, out of the 13,000 doctors we had gone no we were reaching out to, we had around 450 to 460 new doctors activated using digital. But when I say digital loose, we had a virtual MSL, we had a email, a webinar, no, patient support material, on all digital, but a good package from a journey touch point one to a touch point n. We had mapped out, and we had 450 to 460 doctors new activated, and close to, if I remember correctly, 1100 to 1200 doctors where we had increased the depth of prescriptions. So suppose they were giving us one, they started to give us between 1.2 to 1.4
Mm.
a prescription on an average. So that's, I'm talking about 5, 6 years ago. Similarly, we had a pain management portfolio. So that was oncology. Now I'm taking you to the side of pain management and diabetes, both sides. On pain management and diabetes, we picked up a pain management brand where we had a quarterly run rate of 3,000 scripts, and we, by in 18 months or 20 months, we had gone to close to 11,000, 12,000 scripts, based on just virtual sales, where we had inside sales, then along with emails, rep triggered emails, webinar. But you got to get the sequencing right, you got to get the content right, because
Right.
same email you can delete on one day. Don may not like an email on one day, but Don can open the same email on the second day if the subject line is correct.
Hmm.
If the subject, so con, channel without content is actually, is absolutely zero. So you got to make sure that the content and channel are looked at in pretty much from a single lens. So for us, actually, content is more critical than the channel. We can make any channel work if the content is correct. Because different audiences behave differently with different, and we will go to the doctors which open, let's say, an email. We will send them only email, but the content has to be right.
Right.
So we quote a lot of times, one of our favorite quotes from a pharma client who used to be our, he's retired, but he used to be our top three client. And he used to say, pharma doesn't sell a pill, pharma sells content.
Hmm.
Because it's a story behind the pill. Nobody buys a pill, patient doesn't understand the pill till they know the story behind it. So what we realized, that if, for us, that was very, very strong, and so it was a big motivation for us, because we focused on, again, getting the content right. Sorry, I bored you with a long answer, but that's it.
No,
That's
it's
my view.
no, it actually, I mean, it goes to me back to, you're trying to figure out how do you engage the human, right? And that's I mean, this is all about patients and humans in general, but I mean, you're talking about, like the email or marketing, campaigns that would lead you to that. And it is important. I think it's important to understand, that at the end of the day, whether it's the doctor or it's the patient, that you're trying to engage. We all get busy from day to day. So, I mean, the fact that somebody opens an email on one day versus another, isn't kind of surprising to me. But at the same time, having the right subject line and tweaking the wording, so that we do want to engage with that story is really important as well.
And yeah, and you have to get the hybrid model right, or the omni channel model right. what's the right sequence between a rep and other channel. Rep is critical, rep will stay, and we have to, when it's a launch, you need. So how do you use rep and other channels around it is super critical, and pharma should look at analytics on the data we capture. We should look at it much more closely, and you will see that we get really nice nuggets of information which can be used to actually optimize on those. And we now have enough. We have 30 to 35 programs with us in US where we've used for brands. Rep plus digital, it definitely works better than rep plus right sequencing and right channel and right content, and works, versus just doing rep plus some digital, or no, or just throwing in because no, it's needed. And we think that's the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to focus on you for the next few questions. So the first one is,
Have
what's
fun.
the best leadership advice that you've ever received?
I have I I continue to get every day, but the best leadership advice which I have listened to is that never give up
Mm,
and lead from the front. Everything what you have to do for your team, do it from the front. First time you have to do it, then people will do it. If you don't do it, others will not. So everything what I do in my life, I do it first, my time, my way. I figured it out, and then I ask others to do it with me, and I don't give up.
yeah. Yeah, having that relentless tenacity is something that's important, I think, in entrepreneurs in general, because you're gonna face a lot of adversity along the way, and so important to have. And then this idea of you know being a leader who's not afraid to step in and do it themselves first is important as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's maybe philosophical, but no, in India we go back to our Mahatma Gandhi, right? No,
Hmm.
who did, right? Never gave up, right? And lots of people you will find. Obviously, he's the tallest, which some of us subconsciously look up to. But pretty much, you will find that in a lot of us that don't give up.
Thank you for sharing. What inspires you?
Inspires me. Few things, yeah. Music. Music inspires me a lot. I know, but depends on the kind of music. The inspiration is comes in. Food inspires me, and then my biggest inspiration has been my father.
Mm,
Uh, m- uh, I still haven't been able to do what he's done in his life. I thought he was the best sales guy in the world, and no, and if I can be my brother and myself keep thinking that even if we are 10% of what he was, we would have done enough in our life.
wow, amazing. What concerns you?
Concerns me, I'm sure you've got that pain already for last one of that the slow change in the industry. I It concerns me sometimes that the way we take so much time to change. Or no, sometimes we think that maybe we are not doing the right things, and sometimes I think I just feel that industry as a whole, we should move faster on things
Mm,
which we know it's in front of us, which is what is correct. And second, no, just coming out of last 1 year of this whole climate change I was talking about, I'm pretty much concerned the way world is, because the way where hometown I come from in India, I saw this time huge amount of floods and absolutely erosion of serious kind of erosion of resources because of mm, the natural calamities which came in. And I know I've seen it, weather changes across, and fire across. I know I was in Princeton and I had never seen air where I can't go out and breathe. And I saw the whole Canada and the whole fires coming in and the effect coming here. So it's starting to touch us in every way, right? It was first water and some of the other resources, the plastics and stuff. I think the whole, while we, the whole leaving behind for our next generation a world which they can live in. I think it's starting to make me feel that we have to do much more.
Yeah, we live about 20 minutes away by car from where there was wildfire here in Colorado. And I remember, not where I'm at in my basement, where I typically do work most of the day. I don't normally look outside. And so whenever I walked upstairs and I saw it was so yellowish gray outside, I was like, what is going on? And I remember turning on the news and going, well, I wonder if we need to evacuate as well.
Right.
And yeah, we definitely need to get a control over this, because it could surprise a lot of people and, hurt a lot of people, as it did in Maui. I'm not
No, it was
surprised whenever you
terrible.
see that they didn't know as well. So
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't breathe for a couple of. I didn't go out because I knew I can't breathe for a couple of hours, and that was unimaginable. So quality went so bad. So I think a glimpse for us from what can happen to us.
yeah, absolutely. Last question. What excites you?
Excites me. Interesting. Excites me. I'm excited about today about my kids. What future I can give it to them. What can I do and make sure that they live, no, they prosper. So it keeps
Yeah.
me excited that what their next 10 years and 15 years would be. So Don, but yeah, I'm maybe, yeah, I'm right now pretty much very excited that how my kids are growing up, and what are the possibilities. So apart from that, I know always you can count me on food. That I know.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same way on the food front as well as my kids. So similar sort of story. Well, Gaurav,
Food
thank you
like
so much. Yeah,
thanks.
thank you so much for being on the Life Science Success podcast, and thank you for being with me and sharing about Indegene and all the great work that you're doing. So, yeah, I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Life Science Success. For complete details about this podcast, including show notes, how to get in touch with guests, and more episodes, please visit www.lifesciencesuccess.com. If there's someone you'd like for us to invite to the show as a guest, please let me know by sending me a message at the podcast website. Please click subscribe on your favorite podcast app, share the podcast, or tell a friend about it, and last but not least, rate the podcast. Thank you again.